In 1492, a man crossed the Atlantic Ocean. We are taught that he discovered a new world. But until the day he died, he never knew what he had actually found. If you watch this to the end, you'll learn the real story your textbook
The
never
measurements
told you,
here contradict your theory.
including the fact that the
They are
experts who mocked
mistaken.
him were, in
Look at the
truth,
coastline.
right. Christopher Columbus. Born in 1451, in Genoa, Italy. He was a man obsessed with a single plan for his entire life. Sail west, and keep sailing west, and you will reach Asia in the east. What Europe wanted most at the time was the spices, silk, and gold of India and China. But the land route was long and dangerous, and the sea route around Africa was far too long. So Columbus proposed the exact opposite direction. If you can't go east, he said, then simply go around to the west. This is the story most of us know. But this story is missing one crucial piece. First, let's correct the most common misconception. People back then believed the earth was flat. This is not true. The fact that the earth is round had been known since ancient Greece. In the 3rd century BC, the scholar Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the earth. And his figure was remarkably close to the true value. In other words, educated Europeans already knew the earth was a sphere. So what was the real debate? The question was not, is it round, but, how big is it? And it was right here that Columbus made a fatal error. He calculated the earth to be far smaller than it actually is. He picked the smallest estimate among the old scholars' measurements. He also misread the distance units, shrinking the earth by about a quarter. And he added one more mistake on top of that. He believed the continent of Asia stretched much farther to the east than it does. Based on Marco Polo's travels, he placed Japan far east of China. The result of these three errors combined was staggering. Columbus estimated the distance from Europe to Asia as roughly a quarter of the real distance. The sea he thought he'd cross in days was, in reality, a vast ocean. This is why the scholars of Portugal and Spain rejected his plan. The reason was simple: the ocean is too wide. You'll all die before you arrive. And astonishingly, those experts were the ones with the correct math. Columbus was wrong, and the people who laughed at him were right. But what if, in between, there was a continent no one knew existed? On
Hooray!
August 3rd, 1492,
Safe journey,
Columbus
everyone!
set sail
We
from the
wish
port
you
of
fair
Palos in Spain.
winds.
There were 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina. He had finally secured the backing of Queen Isabella of Spain. The fleet first stopped at the Canary Islands, then pushed into the unknown Atlantic. And from here, the voyage seemed to have no end. Day after day, all they could see was the horizon. By Columbus's own calculations, land should have appeared long ago. But the ocean stretched on endlessly. The
We
crew
can't keep
grew
going like
anxious,
this.
and talk
Not
of turning
USA.
back began to spread.
They're talking about turning back.
The fear was that they'd passed the point of no return before their food ran out. Columbus
There is no
reassured
need
the
for
crew,
alarm,
at
men.
times even
We
understating
are making
how far
good
they had
progress.
sailed. About 5 weeks passed this way. Then, in the early hours of October 12, 1492,
Land.
a lookout cried out, "Land!" At last, an island had appeared beyond the horizon. Columbus stepped onto the island and named it San Salvador. It was a small island somewhere in what is now the Bahamas. In that moment, Columbus was certain he had reached the edge of Asia, the Indies. And so he called the people who lived there Indios, Indians. The very name, Indian, for Native Americans comes from this enormous mistake. But the truly shocking part comes now. Columbus did not stop after this one voyage. Over his lifetime, he crossed the Atlantic 4 times. He saw Cuba and thought it was mainland China. Other islands he believed were the fringes of Asia. On his 3rd voyage, he finally reached the coast of the South American mainland. The immense flow of fresh water from a great river left him momentarily confused. Such a vast river hinted at an enormous landmass behind it. Yet in the end, he could never accept that it was a new continent. In 1506, Columbus died. Until his final breath, he believed he had been to Asia. He never recognized the two vast continents he had actually found. So why is that land called America, and not Columbus? The name came from another explorer, Amerigo Vespucci. Vespucci was the one who argued this land was not Asia, but an entirely new world. And so a mapmaker labeled the new continent, America, after his name. The name went not to the man who arrived first, but to the man who understood what it was. Here lies one of history's greatest ironies. Columbus was wrong about almost everything. Wrong about the size of the earth, wrong about where he landed, and wrong until the day he died. The experts who tried to stop him were the accurate ones. The only reason he succeeded was that an unknown continent happened to lie in his path. In other words, his great discovery was built, by accident, on top of a massive error. And that accidental voyage went on to completely reshape the fate of the world. For better and for worse, human history was never the same after that day. And so we are left to ask: does history belong to the one who arrives first, or to the one who finally understands what it is? What do you think? Was Columbus a hero, or just a lucky, lost navigator? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, a like and a subscribe mean a great deal to us. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, and you'll be the first to catch the next story.